A very good evening. It's Sunday, the 26th of April 2015, and welcome to News First Weekend. I'm Lanka. Let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
Nepal rocked by major aftershock. Death toll from initial quake rises to 2,200. Newsfirst, MTV and NBC come forward to assist the people of Nepal. Bill on the 19th Amendment to the Constitution presented to the Mahasangha. Moves are being made to dilute the independence of Constitutional Council proposed by 19A, an allegation from the Bar Association. MP Vidura Wickramanayake criticizes prevailing political pattern.
අද ඔක්කොම විකෘති පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ බුදිය ගන්නවා සුළුතරේ බහුතරේ වෙලා.
And now the stories in detail. Rescue missions and aid material have started arriving in Nepal, where more than 2,300 people have been killed and countless others are still missing following the worst earthquake to hit the country in 80 years. But we have a comprehensive report coming up on the news. Meanwhile, News First and the MTV-NBC media network have come forward to initiate a relief program for the people of Nepal who have been stricken by the major earthquake and aftershocks. Priyanta Vijay, Director of Public Relations at MTV-NBC, elaborated on the initiative during the main news bulletin at 7 p.m. on our sister channel, Siddhasa TV.
We have witnessed the tragedy the people of Nepal are currently experiencing, and it is an emotional time. Thousands have lost their lives owing to this earthquake, while many have been rendered homeless and destitute. The reason why we feel the tragedy of Nepal is because of the closeness between our two countries. As a Buddhist country, we consider Nepal as the birthplace of Lord Buddha. While the people of Nepal are facing much hardships at this juncture, we cannot help but remember the catastrophic tsunami incident which took place in 2004. When we face such hardships, many countries come to us in order to get our country back on its feet. We feel the same way for Nepal. The Capital Maharaja organization, together with News First, have organized a relief effort under the title Sri Lanka for Nepal. This relief effort came about at the last moment. Therefore, we have partnered with several government institutions and diplomatic offices and are currently carrying out discussions to identify what items the Nepalese people urgently need at this moment. We are ready to fly these items out as soon as possible with the assistance of the Sri Lankan government officials. Our request to you is this. Tomorrow, we will inform you of the items we need. Be prepared. Do not bring these items to our head office. Instead, you have to bring these items to number 330 TB Jayamawata. This is the very location that we collected goods during the tsunami tragedy. Number 330 Harrison's Complex along Dali Road. We will tell you what items we need. Therefore, we invite you all to bring your relief items there. We will also tell you what items need to be brought so we can transport them to Nepal as soon as possible.
Sri Lanka for Nepal. Thousands killed and many more have been left homeless and destitute as a result of the recent earthquake and its aftershocks. Sri Lanka can help. You can help. Join News First, MTV-NBC, as we do what we can for the people of Nepal. Details to follow.
President Maithripala Sirisena says that passing the 19th Amendment and steering the Sri Lanka Freedom Party towards victory is his main objective.
The President made this statement at the Sri Lanka Freedom Party Representatives Conference for the Galle district last evening. The President also added that all senior members must work together on one common platform.
ජනවාරි 9 කියන්නේ ජනාධිපතිතුමන් මන් දිවුරුම් දුන්න සිකුරාදා
I took oath as president on the 9th of January, which fell on a Friday. Exactly a week after that, which was Friday the 16th, they wanted to appoint me as the leader of the party. They appointed me the leader as per the constitution. Thereafter, I reconvened the Central Working Committee and amended the constitution to be approved by the All-Island Working Committee. What was the amendment to the constitution? Prior to this, there was no article that was able to retain a party member who had left their high-ranking position in government so that we would be able to keep him or her within the party. But I wanted Mahinda Rajapaksa, Chandrika Kumaratunga, former Prime Minister D.M. Jayaratne, Ratnasiri Wickramanayake and senior members of the party like Professor Vishwa Warnapala, Alavi Maulana and Speaker Tamal Rajapaksa to stay with the party. I needed their knowledge and experience in order to steer our party towards victory.
මේ සියලු දෙනාගේ දැනුම සහ අත්දැකීම් මේ පක්ෂයේ ජයග්‍රහණයට ගැනීම සඳහා මට අවශ්‍ය වුණා.
Meanwhile, the President presented the draft of the 19th Amendment, which will be presented in Parliament tomorrow morning, to the Mahanayaka of the Malwada chapter, Most Venerable Tibbatu Vawe Sri Sumangala Thero this morning. Thereafter, the President called on the Anunayaka of the Malwada sect, Venerable Nyangoda Vijitasiri Thera, and presented the draft of the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. Later, the President called on the chief incumbent of the Sri Rajo Pavana Rama Viharya, Venerable Kappetiyagoda Sirivimala Thera.
Another complaint was lodged with the police today over the incident pertaining to the use of a flag similar in appearance to the national flag.
A group including Western Provincial Councillor Mujibur Rahman lodged the complaint today with the Cinnamon Gardens police. We submitted the allegation that these persons had damaged the reputation of our country by saying that they did not know. This is an astounding story. If they come and put up Prabhakaran's photograph at a demonstration tomorrow, will they be allowed to go if they say that they did not know? Will this continue? They have done all of this, and now that it has gone south, they are telling various tales. Meanwhile, the Secretary of the Ministry of Home Affairs, SDAB Borrelassa, says attention has been drawn towards introducing a standard decorative flag which safeguards the pride of the national flag. He added that once the new decorative flag is introduced, the national flag should only be hoisted at state or national events.
The opposition states that certain dangerous clauses that are harmful to media freedom have been included in the bill on the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. Leader of the Mahajan Exat Peramuna parliamentarian Dinesh Gunwardhan, while speaking on the Satana political debate program, stressed that this section of the amendment to the Constitution should be removed. According to the committee stage amendments to the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, which were introduced recently, journalists can be imprisoned under criminal charges. Clause 28 of the bill reads that under election law or referendum, in the event that guidelines issued by the Elections Commissioner during an election or a referendum are not complied with, legal action can be taken on criminal charges, even against privately owned media institutions. The maximum punishment is a prison sentence of 3 years or a fine not exceeding 100,000 rupees.
We in the opposition proposed several amendments. One of them is the one on media freedom. There is one in section 4.2 which is very dangerous. It should not be included in the constitution. The opposition is of the stance that this section needs to be removed. Yes, the fourth, Article 104GG, Section D and others that are connected to it. Then the section after that states that media should state that it favours one particular party during an election. You told the media on several occasions that this was brought not to remove executive powers but to put restrictions on the media. The one that was printed on the 22nd of April states that a journalist can be sentenced to 3 years in prison. If a country is to be better, it needs a proper legal system. Who makes the law? It is the parliament and parliamentarians. Who appoints these parliamentarians? The public. But this is not what the public needs at present. According to you, what happened on the 14th, 17th and 19th is not what the public wanted, but it is what the parliamentarians want. Why do you think that is? The reason why many politicians try to control media and journalists is that they are scared that they would be criticized once they are in power. I have heard several big shots of the present government criticizing this organization in parliament because they were criticized. If the freedom of media organizations and journalists are secured, it means that a democratic society is secured, where people are able to find out what is happening in the country.
දැන ගැනීමට තිබෙන හොඳම මාධ්‍ය හැටියට තමයි එය ආරක්ෂා කළ යුත්තේ. ආණ්ඩු ක්‍රම ව්‍යවස්ථාවට දැම්මට පස්සේ වචනයක් හොල්ලන්න හම්බෙන්නේ අපහු තුනෙන් දෙකක්.
Once this is in the constitution, no one can say anything without the two-third majority. Then us and journalists could be restricted with these programs which are done in haste.
පුළුවන් ආපහු හෙල්ලෙන්න බැරි වෙන්න ජනමාධ්‍ය වේදිනුත් හිර වෙන්න පුළුවන්. මේ ජනමාධ්‍ය ආයතනයේ බෙල්ලමිරි කන්නේ කොහොමද?
They are trying to strangle media institutions. We as the opposition will not allow it. We stress on this. Therefore, we propose to the government to remove this section. We forwarded this proposal both to the President and the Prime Minister.
අපි ජනාධිපතිතුමාටත් කිව්වා, අගමැතිතුමාටත් කිව්වා ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න.
Politicians, intellectuals and the general public too are expressing various views on this matter.
The private media played a great role in the victory of President Maithripala Sirisena. In the 19th Amendment Bill, there was a clause that if the regulations by the Election Commission during the elections violated, the conduct of political programs and the management with regard to that could be taken by a competent authority. The Press Institute and Sirasa challenged that in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court made a determination that that clause violates sovereignty because it affects the right of franchise. Consequent to that, there is a clause to be presented where if there is a violation of the regulations, there would be a jail term and a fine. The media organizations and civil society have expressed their concern with regard to that clause because it violates the freedom of the media. I'm very confident that the government of President Maithripala Sirisena would delete that clause, because having a clause which imposes jail term or a fine with regard to regulations which are not in existence and that would be brought in at a later stage is violative of the freedom of the press. The Supreme Court judgment also stated that the President's powers, the executive power, cannot be delegated to another organ. It could be only enjoyed or it could be delegated to a person or an entity who is under the President.
Fundamental rights are normally exercisable against the state or against executive and administrative authority, but this time under the 19th Amendment it has been extended to the private citizen to obtain instructions or information from him which is in his possession, which relates to any government department or organization. It is really the media who will be greatly affected by it, because the media is in possession of information, confidential information, anonymous information obtained through reliable sources, which they must not disclose. By this exercise, it is possible for the state or for any foreign citizen to obtain this information, so that the media is in jeopardy and in peril, especially its leadership, by this kind of legislation. More so, what is even more dangerous is that fact that even economic hardships can be caused because the national economy is not protected by this. So therefore, economic hitmen can come from abroad and extract information relating to the government by this information obtained in source that has been supplied by the 19th Amendment.
මාධ්‍යයට අපේ නිදහස නැති වෙනකොට අපේ මාධ්‍යයෙන් තමයි හැමදේම බලාගන්නේ. අපි මේ දෙයට තදින් විරුද්ධ වෙනවා.
හරියමන් දේ දැනගන්න ඕන නිදහස් මාධ්‍ය තිබ්බොත් විතරයි. ඒකට වාරණයක් ආවොත් අපිට දැනගන්න වෙන්නේ බොහොම අඩයි. ඒක සම්පූර්ණ අපේ මාධ්‍ය නිදහස මානව හිමිකම් උල්ලංඝනය කිරීමක් වෙනවා.
ජනතාව වශයෙන් අපි ඉල්ලන්නේ මේ මිනිසුන්ගේ තොරතුරු දැනගැනීම අයිතිය සුරක්ෂිත කරලා මිනිසුන්ට අවශ්‍ය තොරතුරු මොකද්ද මේ රජයේ හෝ රජයේ ඇතුලේ වෙන ක්‍රියාමාර්ගවල මොකද්ද කියන එක ජනතාවට සැබෑ වශයෙන් දැනගැනීම අයිතිය තියෙනවා.
දැන් පහුගිය රජයේ මාධ්‍ය මර්ධනය ඇත්තටම කරා. මාධ්‍ය මර්ධනය කරපු නිසා තමයි පහුගිය රජයට පරාජය වෙන්නපත් උනේ. මාධ්‍ය මේ යහපාලන ආණ්ඩුව බලයට පත් කිරීමට මාධ්‍ය විශාල මෙහෙවරක් කරා. දැන් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ මේ බලයට පත් කරපු මාධ්‍යම යහපාලන ආණ්ඩුව බලයට ගේන්න කටයුතු කරපු මාධ්‍යයටම මර්ධනය කිරීම සඳහා ආණ්ඩුව විසින් පනත සම්මත කරන්න නීතියක් විදියට. දැන් අපි විරුද්ධ මෙන්න මේ කතන්දරයට.
රටක ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදයේ උපරිමයෙන් තියෙනවා කියන එකට හොඳම සාධකය තමයි මාධ්‍ය නිදහස උපරිමයෙන් ලබා දීම. අපි තොරතුරු ලබා ගන්නේ මාධ්‍යයෙන්. එතකොට මොනවා හරි සංශෝධන මගින් මේ මාධ්‍ය නිදහස නැති කරනවා නම් අපිට තොරතුරු ලබා ගන්න තියෙන අයිතිය තමයි එතනින් නැති වෙන්නේ.
ජනමාධ්‍ය තුලින් අපිට තොරතුරු දැන ගැනීමට තියෙන අයිතිය නැති කරන්න හදන්න එපා කියලා අපි වගකිය යුතු නිලධාරීන්ගෙන් ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා.
තොරතුරු දැන ගැනීම තරුණයන්ට තියෙන ලොකුම අවස්ථාවක්. Facebook තියෙනවා, ඊමේල් තියෙනවා, SMS මාර්ගයෙන් යම් ඕනම මාධ්‍යකින් මේ තොරතුරු දැන ගැනීම සඳහා අපිට අයිතිය තියෙනවා. නමුත් මේක වළක්වන්න නීති කියනවා නම් මේ තොරතුරු අපිට දෙන ජනමාධ්‍යවේදීන්වත් අත්අඩංගුවට ගන්න පුළුවන් නීති රීති මේක ඇතුළේ තියෙනවා නම් මේ 19 වෙනි සංශෝධනයෙන් ඇති වැඩක් නැති වෙනවා. අපිට ඕන නිදහස.
අපේ ජනතාව මෝඩයෝ නෙමේ. ගියසරත් අපි ඔහුගේ රැවටුණා. ඒක නිසා මේ ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදයට අපි කැමති 19 වෙනි ව්‍යවස්ථාව 20 වෙනි ව්‍යවස්ථාවත් එක්ක එකටයි ගන්න ඕනේ.
හිංසක මිනිස්සු රටේ ඉන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ අරක තොරතුරු දැනගන්න තමයි අපිට ඕනේ. අරක කරන්න මේක කරන්න කියන්න ඕනේ. අහිංසක දුප්පත් මිනිස්සුන්ට යහපතක් වෙන විදිහට යහපාලනයක් ගෙනියන්න කියලා තමයි අපි කියන්නේ.
The Bar Association of Sri Lanka says that changes to the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, seeking to have a majority of members of the Constitutional Council comprising members of Parliament, will dilute the independence of the Council.
The BASL, in a letter addressed to the President, said that it has learnt of moves to dilute the provisions of the 19th Amendment, noting that if the independence of the Constitutional Council is diluted, it would in effect take the nation back to the period of the 18th Amendment and will lead to a serious erosion of democracy. Furthermore, the Bar Association notes that it is mindful that democracy being left entirely in the hands of politicians is not a healthy practice, and that constant vigilance and an input from society is vital for a vibrant democracy. Noting their vehement opposition to any move to dilute the composition of the Constitutional Council, the BASL adds that such a move will seriously affect the independent nature of the appointment of judges and will effectively make the 19th Amendment worthless. The BASL points out that the Supreme Court in its determination held that seeking the views of different stakeholders in appointing judges, including the Minister of Justice and the President of the Bar Association, will not be offensive to the powers of appointment but will enhance the quality of these appointments. The BASL urges the President to resist any attempts to dilute these salutary provisions, noting that such a move would defeat the purpose of the 19th Amendment, which the President has been so steadfastly striving to have enacted.
Two protests were held at separate locations today, demanding that MPs support the 19th Amendment to the Constitution.
A group of UNP representatives from the Sabaragamu province organised this protest, which took place in Godakawela. As a result, vehicular movement along the Ambilpitiya-Ratnapura main road came to a standstill. Meanwhile, another protest was organised by the Citizens Collective. A group of university professors and Peradeniya University students participated in this protest.
The Jatika Helurmia says that politicians who will not render their support for the 19th Amendment to the Constitution will be seen as traitors to the nation. They made this statement at a media briefing convened in Colombo today.
ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණය ලබා දුන් තීන්දුවට අනුකූලව ඉදිරිපත් කර ඇති 19 වෙනි සංශෝධනය.
We believe that it is everyone's responsibility to pass the 19th Amendment, which will enable a more democratic form of presidency and which was presented after the Supreme Court arrived at a decision. The Jatika Helurumaya has expressed our support. Many of us have protested, saying that we will abolish the executive presidency and we will do anything to put a halt to it. But history had continuously shown us the route we have taken. What we have stated and what we are doing is practical, and it can be done. If there are any persons who are attempting to hinder this, giving various excuses, then history will regard them as traitors to the country. There are also a group of opportunists who have made use of this moment. That is why the people of this country will know what to do.
ඇහැර හැරපු අවස්ථාවාදීන් පිරිසක් ඇටියට ඉතිහාසයට එක් වේ. ඒ නිසා මේ සමස්ත ජනතාවම ඒ ගැන වග බලා ගනි.
The UPFA MP Vidura Wickramanayake says that the current government has become an institution that generates jokes. He made this a statement at an event held in Horana today.
A ceremony to commence construction of a Buddha statue on the Galpallewatta hill in Korolagama Horana took place this morning. This event was held under the auspices of the Mahanayaka of the Kalyana Samasri Dharma Mahasangha Council, Most Venerable Ittapane Dhamma Alankara Thera. I wonder if Parliament, which is the place where we gather to enact the laws of the country, has become a place where jokes are generated instead. Unfortunately, we have a lot of spokespersons, but they only speak without working. Everything is distorted. They are sleeping in Parliament and holding protests at every junction. The majority has become the minority and the minority has become the majority. These are unbelievable distortions. I think we are creating a society that is slowly becoming a joke.
We සමාජයක් බවට පත් වෙගෙන යනවා කියලා මට හිතේ.
Up next is a look at Action TV.
The administration of certain shrines where the gods are held supreme come under the purview of an Act of Parliament. This is the Temple Lands Act of 1906, which was introduced by the British and then amended in 1931. This act serves to ensure good governance even at Devalas. However, one of the provisions of this act has not been enforced in the recent past in the case of the Ruhunu Kataragama Devalaya. This was achieved through the issuing of a gazette notice which removed political affiliation as an obstacle to being appointed the Basnayaka Nilame or chief layperson of the Devalaya. When regime change was brought about by the people, another gazette notice was issued quashing the previous gazette notice. As such, the condition that one cannot be a public representative if one wishes to hold the position of chief layperson of the Kataragama Devalaya has been reimposed. In the pledge that must be given by a person seeking to hold the position, the person must certify that they are not a public representative. When the person who previously held the position of chief layperson while being engaged in politics resigned his commission, a replacement was appointed in an acting capacity on the 20th of February. The power to grant such an appointment is vested with the Commissioner of Buddhist Affairs. There is no reason why the Commissioner of Buddhist Affairs should not have obtained a pledge from the individual who was appointed as Basnayaka Nilame in an acting capacity. This is because the pledge is not one that is given as per the whims of the gods, but a pledge that is compulsory under the Temple Lands Act. According to this model, which is to be followed when providing the pledge, when nominations are submitted for the position of Basnayaka Nilame, or when an appointment is being made in an acting capacity, the nominee must also make a declaration that they have not been involved in theft or fraud. If the person appointed in an acting capacity on the 20th of February has declared that he is not a thief or a fraudster, then there is no way in which he can continue to hold the position. If the Commissioner of Buddhist Affairs accepted the declaration, then it would be an offence under the law, regardless of whether or not it would incur the wrath of the gods. This is because the person who was appointed as the acting Basnayaka Nilame of the Kataragama Devalaya on the 20th of February is an individual who failed to repay billions in loans from a state bank. It was proven that this individual had secured the loan through political influence when an investigation was conducted by the newly elected government in 1994. Even when this individual was appointed as the acting Basnayaka Nilame on the 20th of February, a case was pending against him at the Commercial High Court in Colombo. The premise for this case, which will be taken up again on the 30th of this month, is that the individual in question has allegedly failed to make repayments to a private finance company. 7 days after being appointed acting Basnayaka Nilame of the Kataragama Devalaya, this person wrote a bad cheque to the same private finance company. If a cheque is written with the knowledge that there are no funds in the account in question, then it is a fraud committed with the intention of deceiving the recipient of the cheque. Shouldn't the pledge given by the individual in question to the Commissioner of Buddhist Affairs also be considered a fraud similar to the writing of a cheque when one is aware that there are no funds in the account? When good governance brought to the Kataragama Devalaya following the change of government is turned on its head just over a month later, is it not a slight on the people, let alone the gods? Minister of Democratic Governance and Buddha Sasana, over to you.
Rescue efforts in Nepal have intensified after more than 2,300 people were killed in the worst earthquake there in more than 80 years. Now, just as rescue efforts stepped up today, a powerful aftershock was felt in Nepal, India and Bangladesh, and more avalanches were reported near Everest. The US Geological Survey said the quake measuring a magnitude of 6.7 struck near the town of Kodari.
A major aftershock with an initial reading of magnitude 6.7 hit Nepal today, the day after a devastating earthquake shook the country. Climbers on Mount Everest said they saw a new series of avalanches and rock falls.
Here, they're burning bodies in a mass cremation.
Whole streets and squares in the capital of more than 1 million people were covered in rubble. Stunned residents stared at temples that were once part of their daily lives and now were reduced to nothing. This tragic incident occurred at around 11:41 GMT on Saturday.
The magnitude 7.9 quake struck near the capital of Kathmandu and has so far claimed the lives of more than 2,300 people, with countless others still believed to be missing.
There were reports of devastation in outlying isolated mountainous areas after the midday quake of magnitude 7.9. Nepal's worst in 81 years, centered 50 miles east of the second city, Pokhara. Kathmandu residents, shocked by the devastation, surveyed the damage that have left mountains of rubble and debris. Kathmandu's historic 9-story Darara Tower, a major tourist attraction and a UNESCO-recognized historical monument, was among the buildings toppled by yesterday's earthquake, with at least a dozen bodies were taken away from the ruins of the 19th century tower. The disaster is likely to put a huge strain on the resources of this poor country, best known for Everest, the highest mountain in the world. 18 people have been reported dead as a result of the natural disaster. Rescue efforts in Nepal are intensifying as rescuers dug through a dirt with their bare hands, desperate to search for the missing and dead. Meanwhile, a number of historical temples too have been damaged as a result. This incident not only affected those in Nepal, but the strong aftershock hit neighbouring India, shaking buildings in northern and eastern parts of the country. It has been reported that 34 people were killed. Death toll in southwest China's Tibet Autonomous Region has risen to 17 in the wake of the devastating earthquake. 2 Chinese nationals and 2 Bangladeshis in Nepal were victims of the disaster.
Soon after hearing about the disaster, President Maithripala Sirisena spoke to the Minister of Finance in Nepal to express his condolences. The President had instructed the commanders of the Tri-Forces to take steps to promptly deploy relief for earthquake-hit Nepal.
12 army personnel and 119 others, 1 official from the Navy and 13 others, 1 Air Force officer and 10 others are due to engage in this relief effort. 156 will represent the Tri-Forces, and we also have the assistance of 4 specialist doctors. 2 teams have been deployed from the regiment to assist in recovering bodies. There are those in the engineering regiment who have been deployed with the necessary equipment to assist in this effort.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister's office requested doctors, nurses and paramedics who are willing to volunteer these services to the victims of the Nepal's earthquake to contact the PMO. India, China, UK and France have commenced rescue operations in Nepal. According to foreign media, certain towns and cities have been left in darkness as power lines and phone lines have been destroyed owing to the earthquake. Furthermore, Tribhuvan International Airport in Kathmandu, Nepal has been closed for all commercial flights and are only allowing flights carrying reliefs to its runways. It has also been reported that water shortages have been experienced in relief camps, providing shelter to thousands of evacuees and homeless.
We contacted Professor Ravi Puyal from a university in Nepal to find out the latest situation.
Since yesterday afternoon, we've been experiencing the multiple quakes. The big one was yesterday afternoon, and the next big one was today, which was similar to yesterday. Yesterday was something around 7.6 on a scale, and today we experienced something around 6.5. In between that 24 hours that we crossed, we've been experiencing more than 100 shocks, and that's really big, and people are in a chaos of what to do, what not to do. The mostly affected place is Kathmandu Valley, the capital city. The government has already declared 26 cities as major affected area. The major destruction that has happened is onto the historical monuments that we had. Kathmandu, Vakhtapur and Pasan, these 3 cities where these of the historical monuments were there, have been massively destroyed. On the other side, that people are having lack on the daily supplies. The hospitals here are packed with people all over.
According to Indian media reports, experts have warned that there is a risk of future earthquakes of similar magnitude that could strike Nepal. Therefore, certain areas in Nepal are on alert. News First is closely monitoring the situation.
Sri Lanka for Nepal. Thousands killed and many more have been left homeless and destitute as a result of the recent earthquake and its aftershocks. Sri Lanka can help. You can help. Join News First, MTVSports as we do what we can for the people of Nepal. Details to follow.
Taking a look at other local stories, Minister of Public Order John Amaratunde says the police are continuing investigations into numerous corruption-related complaints.
The minister attended an event held to distribute school equipment among children from low-income families in Kerawalapitiya, Vattala. If people are protesting against the police or the bribery commission when someone is arrested or someone is produced, then how can we govern this country? How can we instill discipline? There are no two laws for the ordinary citizen and people from the upper class. Several powerful persons from the former regime had to be arrested. The necessary information came to light regarding one of these persons. 2,000 million rupees has disappeared from that department. I do not even know how much that is in crores. 200 crores, I believe. I don't even know how many zeros that is. That is the situation. If we do not inquire after this, people will blame us. We have given instructions to investigate if a complaint is lodged about corruption involving any person. There is a whole stock of such complaints.
Sajid Premadasa, the Minister of Housing and Samurdhi, says the Samurdhi benefit will be increased by 200% from the month of April. He made this pledge at an event held in Tissamaharama today. This event was held to mark the donation of building material towards construction of the vestibule of the Manikraj Mahaviharya in Tissamaharama.
We will increase the Samurdhi benefit by 200% from the month of April. Thus far, whenever Samurdhi beneficiaries suffered a family bereavement, only 10,000 was paid to them. Today I decided to increase that allowance to 15,000. At the same time, I have decided to increase the benefit for each birth from 5,000 to 10,000. We have decided to give low-income families loans at concessionary rates. Loans will start at 100,000 in the first round, 250,000 in the second round, and loans of 500,000 and 1 million thereafter. But if any person takes legal action against this or files a police complaint, remember that it would be done by the rogues who stole from the Samurdhi fund. Remember that Sajid Premadasa will take to the streets with the 3.5 million families and fight for the rights of the ordinary man.
Former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumartunde says the peace will only be won through a political solution that is acceptable to all. The former president made this statement while delivering the S.J.V. Chelvanayaka Memorial Lecture in Colombo yesterday.
The S.J.V. Chelvanayaka Memorial Lecture, organized by the Colombo branch of the Ilangai Tamil Arasu Katchi, was held in Colombo yesterday. The event saw the attendance of many prominent politicians.
For a durable solution to the Tamil question, we must engage in the difficult but most essential task of arriving at a political solution acceptable to all. Then and only then would we have won a durable peace in this country. To achieve this, we need to essentially change the attitudes and deeply entrenched fears of our peoples, of all communities. We cannot continue to dwell on history, chanting forever, who did what wrong? We have to rise above mutual fears, anger, hatred, and reach out to the primordial humanity in all of us. We must start writing on a fresh page if we are to seize the unprecedented opportunity history has today presented to us.
It's time We have to cooperate with the government. But we are unable to participate in the cabinet. They asked us to take a cabinet position. No, that is not our position. That is not our principle. We want to find a political solution and address the day-to-day issues, the current issues, stop the land grabbing and occupied land to be released to the people of the original people and resettle them the original land and allow us to rule ourselves in their own areas. That is very important to us.
The National Youth Buck Festival took place today in Mathura under the auspices of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe.
The festival was called the Sun Festival of Reconciliation. Sagala Ratnayaka, the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, was also present at the occasion. There should be work with good revenue and income. There should be more jobs in the country. All of this cannot be done in 100 days. Vocational training should also take place alongside education. This would lead to a good wage. If you don't have money in your hands, then you have to ask money from your parents for that new hairstyle. The public income should be increased within the next 5 years. Most of all, I'm looking forward to creating 1 million jobs in the next 5 years.
The traditional Pirit chanting ceremony will commence tonight at the historic Yatiyagala temple, initiating the Sirasa John Kills Vesak Kalape.
All preparations have been made to commence the Sirasa John Kills Vesak Kalape on the 3rd, 4th and 5th of May at the environs of the MTV City Office on Braybrook Street, Colombo 2. The sacred hair relic of the Lord Buddha and the relics of 14 Maharat Theros will be brought to the Sirasa Vesak Kalape from the Yatihalagala Rajamahavihari on the 29th. In order to obtain blessings for the success of the Sirasa John Kills Vesak Zone, where the public will be granted the opportunity to witness the sacred relics, we will be carrying out religious observances where Pirit Pan, Pirit Nool or the Pirit ceremony will be conducted. We invite our Buddhist devotees to come and take part in this ceremony.
And in sports news this evening, Sri Lanka A defeated the visiting Pakistan A team by 8 wickets today in the first one-day match of the series. The first one-dayer worked off in Mathura today. Winning the toss at the News1st Stadium today, the Pakistan A team opted to bat first. They were bowled out for 203 runs, one delivery into the 49th over. Pakistan A captain Fawad Alam top scored for the visitors with 58. Dushmanta Chamira was the pick of the bowlers with figures of 3 for 34. Lahiru Gamage, Shahanjai Surya and Tharindu Kaushal picked up 2 wickets each. Sri Lanka A reached the 204-run target in 32.2 overs, losing only 2 wickets. Opening batsman Kusal Janit Pereira scored a 114-run century of 88 deliveries. Sri Lanka A skipper Ashan Priyanjana was unbeaten on 57 runs. And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of News First Weekend. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a great week ahead.